What's up cuy, bertemu lagi dengan saya Riwa Milo. Wow, oke cuy, jadi di video saya kali ini ya cuy ya, ini kita bongkar apa sih yang dilihat Choo-Choo Charles itu, yang disembunyiin Choo-Choo Charles dari kameranya kita gitu. Kalau kita main, nah itu tuh yang disembunyiin Choo-Choo Charles itu apa gitu loh kira-kira. Nah, penasaran kalian kan? Jadi sebelum lanjut, alangkah lebih banyak kalian subscribe di channel saya cuy, karena subscribe jaruan untuk gratis. Sekarang subscribe jaruan aja bentuk support kalian ke channel ini agar imajin berkembang, dan semoga subscribe dari kalian itu berkah cuy ya, amin. Oke, mungkin langsung saja kita ke bagian videonya dan kita akan mereview sama-sama yang disembunyiin Choo-Choo Charles itu apa gitu. Oke, let's go.
Choo-Choo Charles is an open world nightmare simulator.
Oke cuy, ini udah di videonya. Nah ini nih tuh. Jadi tuh Choo-Choo Charles tuh udah keluar, dan di sini kita kamera tersembunyi. Dan di sini ya videonya itu kita akan melihat gitu loh.
To showing off monsters you can't normally see. I love breaking games and showing off unseen things, so be sure to subscribe if this is your type of thing. As always, I like to do a quick recap of the flow of events that take place in the game I'll be covering. So once we leave the title screen,
ini tuh asli,
we see a
dia tuh yang main ya,
where
itu tuh
Eugene,
pakai
the man
mod
on the
sih
phone,
asli.
is talking to us. We eventually rode to the island of Araniram, where Olympic sprinter Eugene
Dan di sini
guides
ada
us through our
Eugene,
personal
kemarin
train.
udah aku review
We test
gimana
out the
caranya
weapon on board,
nyelamatin
and then
Eugene.
depart on our hunt for Charles.
Terus di
However,
sini ada
things don't go as
tembak-tembaknya.
planned, and Choo-Choo Charles ambushes us, killing Eugene. At this point, we're on our own as we navigate this massive world. Our goal is to finish 4 primary quests. We need to upgrade our train as we navigate to 3 different mines to retrieve special eggs from within. We also need to plant explosives on the bridge on the north side of the island.
Nah, jadi kita butuh bom untuk nyancurin jembatan. Terus setelah telurnya terkumpul, dia jadi Hill Charles ya. Dan akhirnya kita mati. Oke, jadi kita akan langsung saja mereview gimana sih kira-kira apa yang disembunyiin Charles itu. Bingung lah.
However, what we see here is actually a map itself, so we can explore it. So if we look inside the train, it always has the giant double-barrel gun inside of it. Now this train on the title screen will dynamically update with the appearance of your train in the game. However, regardless if you have the giant weapon or not, it will show up inside the train. So if we zoom out, we can see how big this map is and what it looks like from far away.
Braided, dia cuma dar gitu. Dan di sini dia pakai kamera yang di pesawat terus, yang di drone. Dan di sini ini adalah teksturnya. Teksturnya tuh kayak besi malahan ya.
But while we're out here, why don't we take a look at the moon?
Ya,
So
di
up
sini
above
kita
us in
bisa
the
melihat
sky is the moon.
bulannya.
And if we
Wih,
fly
bulannya
up
bisa
to it,
diperjelas
we'll see
aja.
that the moon is
Keren banget sumpah ini
far
yang
away.
main mah.
But it's also very, very big.
Nah,
The
emang
moon
besar
itself
banget
is a
lah.
transparent sprite. And if we go
silau
behind
banget.
us, we can see just how far away we are
Loh,
from the
hilang.
map. Look at that tiny area down there. We are
Ajar dia
so
bisa
far
kayak gini.
away.
Dia
But
ini
now let's
yang buat
actually
game
advance
itu
to
gimana ya?
the next scene, which is the opening cutscene when we start the game. So the opening cutscene has Eugene talking to us on the phone, and it takes place in the daytime on this dock. Now the camera normally swoops in near the building to the table so we can see a photo of Choo-Choo Charles on it. And then,
Nah,
once
ini
the
adalah
conversation
orangnya
is
tuh,
done,
dia
we
berhasil
leave
foto
this map.
Choo-Choo
But if
Charles
we take a look at this map itself, it has plenty of secrets.
di pulau
For
ini
one,
ya.
we see this man that's walking by the dock. But the second this man is off camera, they actually stop moving. They continue to walk, but they walk in place, and they don't move anymore. Of course, this is something the player never sees. But if we move around this island, we can see there's actually a lot to it. There's a forest behind this building, and it kind of goes on for quite a bit. But the building itself is kind of strange too, because it's actually not a building. It's basically a fake Hollywood set. So only the front of the building is
itu
there.
kayak
Now, because
ternyata belakangnya itu nggak rumah asli sih, cuman kotak doang gitu loh, kayak di Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry yang belakangnya nggak ada tuh loh, cuma dari depan yang kelihatan bagus. Ternyata belakangnya cuma gitu. Jadi kita itu ke pulau ini menggunakan kapal kecil, perahu lah ya.
Locked behind invisible walls. So if the player try to leave this area before getting the train, well, they can't actually do that. There are invisible walls surrounding you, and you cannot get past them. Well, under normal circumstances. But as we proceed forward, Choo-Choo Charles will actually appear on the map and attack Eugene. But something interesting is that a good amount of this event is scripted. So Charles will hunt you down, but the second Eugene dies, Charles will run away. And so, I want to follow Charles at this point.
Nah,
Now,
waktu
Charles
ini
is too fast,
kan setelah
and the plane would never keep up. However,
apa
if we
matiin
take the
Eugene,
camera,
nah
we can
ini
follow
Choo-Choo Charles
Charles
perginya
over
ke
the
sini nih.
countryside. And it turns out that he runs away
Jadi dia
over
ke
some hills,
pinggiran
and then he
pantai,
unloads.
terus
But him
hilang.
unloading actually leads us to our next discovery. Underground, at the center of this map, is a giant
Dan
rectangle.
ternyata di
For the
bawah
longest
mapnya
time
itu
while
ada
playing,
kotak
I
box.
actually did not know what this was for. And the reason for this is because every time I went to check it out, it was empty. But it turns out this
Nah, dia tuh
container
udah
is
ngecek di
actually
kotak
for
itu,
Charles.
ternyata nggak ada.
So at the start
Dan
of the game,
ternyata
if we take a peek
Charles-nya
inside
ada
this
di sini
container,
dong.
we'll see Charles within. And this is where they are stored when they're not on the map. Now, the situation is not common because they're constantly roaming the open world, but at certain times, like the beginning of the game, they're within this. And I imagine the reason why he's in a solid container
Oke, jadi
is so
selama
that
ini
he does not
Charles
see the
sembunyi di
players to the
sini
ground.
aja ya.
Let's move on to something equally terrifying though. So
Dan
this
dia
world
sini
has many monsters besides
ke
Charles. For
apa
one,
danau.
there's a lake monster. Lisbeth Merkwater is this witch that sends us on a
Dan di
quest
sini ada witch.
over to an island to basically get meat from a body. We have to swim across a lake to get there. And within this murky water is Barry, the swamp
Wah,
monster.
apa itu?
Now, you can't see Barry at all
Ada
because
monsternya
they're
dong.
invisible beneath the surface of the
Ternyata
water.
di
But the
sini
only
ada
time they do
monsternya
appear
loh.
is
Tuh,
through
tuh,
an
tuh.
abstract jump scare. It's
Oke,
difficult to
di
see the
situ ada
monster.
monster.
The camera has a filter applied to it that creates
Itu
a
deh
sense of
kayak
murky
ikan-
water.
ikan.
And if we
Tuh,
remove
ini
this
nih.
murky water filter, we can also get a good look at the
Tuh,
monster.
monsternya kayak gini
It
nih
has
yang ada
4
di pulau
eyes
nih.
and appears to
Wih.
be a fish, but it
Oh,
actually has 2 legs and
oh,
2
itu
arms.
orang aja,
It's
ternyata aku
positioned
kira
like a
ikan loh.
fish, but it could also
Orang
technically
cuman
leave the water
kombinasi
and
dengan
walk on
ikan
land.
sih ternyata.
What I find most
Ini
interesting
adalah
is that the
monster yang
monster
ada di
also has a
bagian
second
sini.
mouth hidden inside its torso. I'm not sure why this is there, but taking the camera inside shows it off. Now, this is not the only monster on the island that we can take a closer look at, because there's this really creepy,
Iya,
like,
sangat
Slenderman
mengerikan ya.
ghost, and I'm only calling
Ada
it that because the area
Slenderman.
it's in is just like Slender the 8 Pages. So you come down to this ravine, and there's all these drawings scattered around this area, and you need to collect 9 pages in total, and once you start collecting them, this
Setelah
monster
kita
or ghost-like
ngumpulin 8
entity
itu kemarin,
basically
oh itu
comes
tuh
out of nowhere
Slenderman-nya
and
tuh.
hunts you down.
Tuh, tuh,
And
tuh,
it's
tuh.
a bit difficult to
Kan
get a good look at
ngeri
this
ya, Ci,
monster.
ya?
But if we slow the game down, we can get a better look. So this monster is actually just like a human model, but it's textured with this like reflective,
Oh, dan
high
di sini
contrast black and
ada
white material, sort of
Slenderman-nya
like a
nih.
metallic chrome. Now this monster can normally pass through walls, so they are a ghost, but this is what it looks like when the player actually gets hit by them and they get warped out of the area. We're gonna look at besides
Nah, terus
Charles,
yang
are
terakhir ya,
these
Ci, ya,
cultists.
itu tuh
So
ada
these
ini
are
nih.
Warren's men. The man
Itu
who
adalah
owns
orang
the
yang
mine.
nembakin kita.
These dudes with shotguns are gonna hunt you down. But when they're
Ush.
spawned in the game, they are actually randomly assigned both clothes and a mask. However, despite these giant masks, they do
ngeri
have
banget.
faces. So if we take a peek behind the mask, this is what their face looks like. And all the cultists
Cewek
look
ternyata
exactly
dia.
the same. So this one's a bit silly, but on the
Itu
north
kan dia
side of the
pakai
island,
topeng,
there's like this fishing
tapi
shack,
ternyata dia
and this
cewek
fishing
loh.
shack is
Aku kira
actually in the
cowok ya.
most northwest position
Ngeri
on the
banget.
map. However, not far from this, to the east, we can find a giant floating
Nah, setelah
rubber ducky
ditelusuri ya,
in the
Ci, ya,
ocean.
di
Now, the player
di apa
cannot
namanya
enter the ocean
pantai
at all,
itu tuh
so we
ada
cannot swim
pelampung
onto this
bebek,
duck.
cuy.
However, just
Tuh.
as a test, if we modify the game and warp the player on top of the duck, well, they'll actually just
Okay.
fall through the duck. And if you're wondering why I'm back on the train now, that's because anytime the player falls beneath the map in Choo-Choo
Loh.
Charles, it will instantly warp you back to your train.
Dan setelah ke situ
Speedrunners,
langsung balik ke
take
situ dong.
Moving on, so deep within an underground bunker, we can find a locked door. And
Nah,
locked
di
doors
sini,
are very
itu
common
tuh,
in this game. Honestly,
apa,
a lot of the
terkunci
cabins
ya,
you
Ci,
come
ya, kalau
across
di
are
bawah,
locked, but
ini
almost all the
bangunan ini.
cabins that have locked doors actually have nothing inside of them. There is usually no interior to the cabin or even a room behind where that door is at. However, this particular locked door is different because there is a room behind it with a desk. And on this desk is a
Psikopat
note that the
fix.
player can read.
Ngeri banget.
Now, there's no actual way to get in
Ngeri
this room,
banget.
so we have to modify the game and put the player in there. And when we actually read this message, it's
Setelah
a
dia
message
nembusin
directly
itu,
from
dia
the
kan pakai
developer.
mod.
It's specific to hackers,
You
and
are
it
not
says, you're not supposed to be here. And the text has that Zalgo text corruptor on top of it. Now, the letter is signed GVN, and if you're wondering who that is the name of the developer. His name is Gavin,
Oh.
and the signature just lacks all the
GVN
vowels
tuh
in his
Gavin,
name.
si
Now, on one
developer.
of the docks,
Keren
on I
banget
believe the
developernya,
southern side
anjir.
of the island, or at least down there
Dia bisa
somewhere, is
kayak
this
gitu.
man who tried to swim to the shore, and he unfortunately drowned. However, we're looking upon
Ada
this
orang
dude
bunuh
from the
diri.
dock. We can't actually see what it looks like. I was just really curious.
Ternyata
So I
banyak
took the
misterinya
camera
loh, Pak,
down
di
there,
game
and we
ini
can
loh.
see his face. Poor fella. So the last thing we have to cover is the grand finale of this game. Once the player retrieves all 3 eggs and makes it to the altar, a cutscene plays where Warren confronts the
Setelah kita
protagonist.
masukin
As the
ini,
player is going to place the 3rd egg, Warren appears.
nah
And
si orang
swapping
ini
camera
baru
angles
keluar.
shows that he indeed just warps into place. As Warren condemns us, Charles just loads in on top of the roof.
Tiba-tiba
As the
dia
Charles
gitu
powers
cuy
up, they
prosesnya
just
ya.
despawn
Dia
and load
tiba-tiba
in lower on the
spawn,
map. That's when the
terus
monster train
kesini.
explodes through a shack and devours Warren. But it's kind of funny because if we look inside Charles, we'll see Warren just flopping around inside until the final fight begins. If we hop off the train during the final fight to make ourselves invincible, we'll see that Choo-Choo Charles does warp us around the map. I know that may be a bit obvious, but my first time fighting him, I wasn't entirely sure what was happening exactly, since I never checked the map. After dealing enough damage to Charles, we eventually get warped to the bridge that has the explosives on it, and Charles falls to their death after the bridge blows up. Up top, our train has stopped moving, as a familiar NPC, Paul, looks down upon us. However, the coolest thing is right below this bridge though. This area does not exist during actual gameplay, but for this cutscene, an entire underground cavern spawns in right below this area. Normally, we see a cutscene of the game focusing on an egg that was about to hatch, but this area is massive, and we normally can't explore it. We can see that there is a bridge down here and a sealed door, but the door doesn't have anything behind it. This ruined area is full of thousands of eggs. We can't see it's made by humans or the ancient ruins makers, as stone steps are carved on certain areas. Makes me wonder if at
Dan
one
ini
point
tuh
this
adalah
area
si
was
endingnya.
accessible during
Ternyata
the
tuh
game.
telurnya banyak
It's hard
banget
to
ya.
tell.
Setelah kita
But with
ending
that,
kan
that wraps
diliatin
up our
telur ini
adventure
nih.
through the entirety of Choo-Choo.
Menurut kalian gimana, komentar aja di bawah. Ternyata tuh misterinya banyak banget loh. Jadi kita udah membongkar semua misteri yang ada di Choo-Choo Charles ya cuy ya. Wah luar biasa. Tadi ada orang yang mati di kali, terus ternyata ada monster, itu monster danau, monster Slenderman, terus ada monster yang nembak pakai shotgun, itu ternyata si cewek. Ini luar biasa banget. Kalau kalian baru tahu sama kayak aku di video ini, silahkan kalian subscribe, like, comment, and share. Terima kasih sudah menonton ya cuy ya. Thanks for watching and see you again in the next video. Bye.